Dusk at Shadow Creek Ranch, Montana. Sarah Mitchell watched through thermal scopes as Los Lobos cartel vehicles surrounded her property. Their leader had already burned 3 ranches this month, but as cartel members drew weapons, they missed something crucial. The shapes moving through the darkness weren't ordinary wolves. Ghost, Storm, and Shadow were the result of a classified DarpaX program, wolf-dog hybrids trained by special forces for combat operations. The cartel thought they were raiding a simple horse ranch. Instead, they'd just picked a fight with wolves, who'd hunted cartel killers through mountain passes and tracked insurgents through desert caves. As vehicles moved to surround the barn, Sarah smiled. These men were about to learn why her wolf training program was classified as a weapon of war. But before we jump back into the video, let us know where you're watching from. And if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow I've got something really special for you. And now, back to the video. Dusk at Shadow Creek Ranch painted the Montana mountains in shades of purple and gold. Sarah Mitchell watched through military-grade thermal optics as 5 cartel vehicles approached her property. Her wolves had sensed them first. Ghost's ears, twitching in that distinctive way she'd seen 100 times during combat operations. Now, as Los Lobos cartel members spread out around her ranch, she felt the same focused tension she'd known in countless classified missions. Multiple targets, standard assault formation, she whispered, more from habit than necessity. Ghost, Storm, and Shadow needed no verbal commands. The wolf-dog hybrids moved like living shadows through the growing darkness, their muscles coiled, with the same lethal purpose she'd seen in mountain warfare against insurgents. Through her thermal feeds, Sarah counted 15 armed men. Their movements betrayed professional training. These weren't ordinary cartel thugs. Los Lobos had a reputation for recruiting ex-military, which made them dangerous. But it also meant they'd make assumptions about what they were facing. Standard military doctrine had no protocols for engaging combat-trained wolves. Ghost, her alpha, took position near the barn. His massive frame, a perfect blend of Timberwolf and Belgian Malinois, carried scars from operations that remained classified. Storm and Shadow, siblings from the program's second generation, moved to their practice positions. Together, they'd run more combat missions than most special forces teams. "Look alive up there, lady," the cartel leader's voice carried across her property. "We know you're home. Let's make this simple. The ranch or your life." His Spanish accent was fake, part of the Los Lobos mystique. Sarah had heard enough native speakers during operations to spot the deception. She watched them approach through multiple camera feeds. The ranch's security system looked primitive, simple motion sensors and cameras that any professional could spot. The cartel would assume they'd found all her surveillance. They hadn't. The real system, developed during her DarpaX days, was far more sophisticated. "Getting some weird readings," one cartel member reported, checking what looked like professional scanning equipment. "Something big moving out there, but the patterns are all wrong." He adjusted his device, confusion evident in his movements, not showing up as human or typical wildlife. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The wolves' thermal signatures had confounded better equipment during program testing. Their unique genetic makeup, combined with special forces training, created heat patterns that defied standard classification. Ghost's growl was the first warning, a sound pitched specifically to trigger primal fear responses. Sarah had spent years studying how different frequencies affected human targets. The cartel members' reactions told her the sound was having its intended effect. "Just wolves," their leader declared, but his voice carried a note of uncertainty. Probably some local pack drawn by the horses. He was trying to reassure his men, not knowing he was describing a threat far deadlier than ordinary wolves. Through her scopes, Sarah watched them make their first tactical mistake. They were spreading out, trying to cover more ground, exactly the kind of formation her wolves had trained to dismantle. In the growing darkness, she saw Ghost signal the others with subtle movements learned through countless combat operations. The cartel had come prepared for typical ranch security: guards, dogs, maybe some armed hands. They had no way of knowing. They'd stumbled onto something that had taken millions in classified research to create. Wolves with the intelligence of specialized military working dogs, combined with natural hunting instincts honed by special forces training. "Last chance!" the leader shouted. "We're taking this ranch one way or another. Your choice how messy it gets." His men were moving into breaching positions, weapons ready, still believing they were executing a standard armed takeover. Sarah checked her tactical displays one final time. The wolves were in perfect position, their movements coordinated with a precision that had made the program's combat results literally unbelievable to outside observers. Los Lobos was about to learn why the military had classified her wolf training program as a weapon of war. "Ghost," she whispered, using the same tone she'd used during mountain operations against insurgents who'd thought they were the apex predators. Time to remind these men why wolves have always haunted human nightmares. The first cartel member to discover why the DarpaX program had been classified never had time to warn his companions. Ghost struck with a precision that defied natural wolf behavior. No wasted movement, no killing bite, just the swift efficiency that had made the program's combat footage too disturbing for general military review. "Contact West," Sarah noted in her tactical log, old habits from classified operations dying hard. Through her thermal imaging, she watched Storm and Shadow move to support positions, implementing hunting patterns that blended wolfpack dynamics with special forces tactics. The result was something entirely new in the history of warfare. "We've got movement." A cartel member's voice cracked with uncertainty. His military training had taught him how to deal with dogs, even combat-trained canines. But these weren't dogs. The shapes moving through the darkness violated everything he knew about predator behavior. Sarah watched through multiple feeds as her wolves executed their initial containment protocol. Each movement was calculated, each position supporting the others. This wasn't just animal instinct. This was the result of millions in classified research combining natural wolf hunting strategies with advanced military doctrine. "Status report," the cartel leader demanded over their radio channel. "What the hell is out there?" The growing panic in his voice told Sarah they were starting to realize this wasn't a normal ranch defense. Ghost's response was to demonstrate another aspect of the program's success: strategic intimidation. His howl carried specific frequencies developed through years of research, designed to trigger deep-seated human fear responses. The effect on the cartel members was immediate and visceral. "These aren't normal wolves," one of them transmitted, his voice shaking. "The way they're moving, it's coordinated, tactical." His military background was betraying him, letting him recognize patterns that civilians might miss. "They're using standard containment formations." Through her thermal scopes, Sarah observed the cartel's disciplined assault pattern beginning to break down. The wolves were implementing what the program had called predator pressure protocols. Systematic psychological warfare combining natural wolf behavior with military tactical doctrine. "Remember your training." The cartel leader was trying to rally his men. "They're just animals. Use the sound deterrents." He didn't know that conventional anti-wolf measures had been part of the program's basic resistance training. Storm and Shadow's response demonstrated why the program had eventually exceeded all military expectations. As high-pitched deterrent devices activated, the wolves adjusted their attack patterns using the sound coverage to mask their movements. This wasn't instinct. This was advanced tactical adaptation. "The frequencies aren't working." Panic was spreading through the cartel ranks. "They're using the sound shadows for concealment. These things understand sonic warfare." The realization came too late. They were already caught in a classic wolfpack hunting pattern, modified by years of special forces training. Sarah checked her tactical displays, monitoring her wolves' vital signs through subdermal chips that had cost millions to develop. Their heart rates and body temperatures showed perfect combat efficiency. Another program achievement. These weren't animals running on adrenaline and instinct. They were executing precisely planned tactical maneuvers, fall back to defensive positions. The cartel leader's order came too late. His men were discovering that military doctrine for dealing with canine threats didn't apply to wolves trained in counter-tactics. Every standard response they attempted played directly into hunting strategies developed specifically to defeat armed human opponents. Ghost's next move demonstrated why the program's combat footage had been restricted to the highest security levels. The massive hybrid moved like liquid shadow, implementing attack patterns that combined a wolf's natural killing efficiency with a special forces operator's tactical precision. The result was something that defied conventional combat experience. "These aren't animals." The realization came across the cartel's radio channel. "The movement patterns, the coordination. This is military. Someone weaponized these wolves." The speaker's voice carried the terror of a trained fighter, recognizing that all his experience had just become useless. Sarah watched through her feeds as Storm and Shadow began the second phase of their containment protocol. The siblings moved with synchronized precision, herding cartel members into prepared kill zones using techniques that had taken years to perfect. This wasn't just about physical attack, it was about systematic control of the battlefield. Ghost. Implement pattern delta, she transmitted, knowing her alpha would recognize the command tone. The hybrid's response was immediate, shifting his tactics to a more aggressive posture developed specifically for armed opponents. The program had spent millions learning how to combine a wolf's natural hunting drives with controlled military precision. The cartel members were discovering that their weapons, which had given them such confidence against normal ranch defenses, were now working against them. Muzzle flashes ruined their night vision, while the wolves moved through darkness as easily as daylight. Every shot fired only helped the predators track their positions more effectively. They're not attacking randomly. Another voice on the radio, this one showing military analysis training. These are coordinated strikes. They're using standard special forces containment patterns, but with wolfpack hunting behaviors. The observation was tactically sound, but strategically useless. They were already caught in the wolves' web. Sarah monitored multiple camera feeds as her team systematically dismantled what had started as a professional assault force. Each wolf knew their role. Each movement supported the others, all working together with a combination of natural pack dynamics and military precision that had made the program's success rate literally unbelievable to outside observers. Los Lobos. Cartel was about to learn why the military had classified the DarpaX Wolf program as one of their most sophisticated weapons development projects, and why Sarah Mitchell's retirement to a Montana ranch had come with the highest security clearance ever granted to an animal behaviorist. The cartel's military training finally surfaced in how they tried to counter the wolf attacks. Form a defensive circle, their leader commanded, falling back on Special Forces doctrine. Use the vehicles for cover. No animal can breach a properly fortified position. He didn't know that breaching fortified positions had been a primary focus of the DarpaX program's later stages. Sarah watched through her thermal feeds as Ghost initiated the response protocol they'd developed specifically for this scenario. The massive hybrid moved like liquid shadow, implementing attack patterns that had made hardened military observers question everything they knew about animal capabilities. Multiple targets adjusting formation, she noted in her tactical log, documenting another field test of the program's achievements. Subjects attempting standard defensive protocols against superior predator forces. Through her scopes, she watched Storm and Shadow move to their assault positions with military precision. The cartel's first indication that conventional tactics wouldn't work came as Ghost demonstrated why the program had eventually exceeded its combat performance metrics. The hybrid attacked not with a wolf's natural aggression, but with calculated strikes at structural weak points in their defensive formation. A combination of animal instinct and military strategic analysis that had made the program's combat footage classified above top secret. They're not just coordinating, one cartel member transmitted, his voice carrying the shock of professional recognition. They're executing advanced breach tactics. These wolves understand military defensive formations. His observation came too late to help them adjust their strategy. Storm and Shadow's synchronized assault proved why the program had invested millions in developing pack-based tactical operations. The siblings moved with lethal grace, their attacks complementing each other in ways that violated natural wolf behavior. This wasn't just pack hunting. This was sophisticated military choreography executed by apex predators, switched to incendiary deterrence. The cartel leader's order betrayed his growing desperation. No animal continues attacking through fire. But fire response had been part of the program's basic training, another reason why conventional anti-wolf tactics proved useless against these hybrids. Sarah's mind flashed back to those training sessions conducted in secure facilities deep in Montana's wilderness. She remembered the military's initial skepticism about combining wolfpack dynamics with special forces tactics. Animals can't understand complex military strategies, they'd argued. Ghost had proved them wrong in ways that had rewritten tactical manuals. The thermal signatures are wrong, another cartel member reported, his equipment revealing another aspect of the program's success. These things are running combat operations at body temperatures that should be impossible. They're not even showing normal exertion patterns. The observation highlighted why the program's biological achievements had been classified separately from its tactical developments. Through her feeds, Sarah monitored her wolves' performance metrics. The subdermal sensors showed perfect combat efficiency. Heart rates, body temperatures, and stress indicators, all within optimal ranges. Millions in genetic engineering and behavioral conditioning had created predators that could maintain peak performance throughout extended combat operations. Ghost, implement scenario echo, she transmitted, using command tones developed through years of program research. The hybrid's response demonstrated another breakthrough: the ability to process and execute complex tactical adjustments in the middle of combat operations. Natural wolf adaptability enhanced by military strategic training. The cartel's defensive position was discovering why the program had eventually shifted its focus from simple combat effectiveness to sophisticated tactical operations. These weren't just enhanced wolves. They were strategic predators capable of analyzing and countering military defensive protocols. They're anticipating our responses. The panic in the radio transmission revealed another program achievement. The wolves weren't just reacting to threats. They were predicting and countering standard combat maneuvers, using pattern recognition abilities that combined animal instinct with military tactical analysis. Storm and Shadow's next assault sequence demonstrated why the program's training videos had disturbed even experienced special forces operators. The siblings moved with unnatural precision, their attacks targeting not just tactical vulnerabilities, but psychological pressure points. This wasn't random violence. This was sophisticated predatory warfare. Fall back to secondary positions. But the cartel's attempted tactical retreat played directly into hunting patterns developed specifically to exploit human combat doctrine. Every standard military response they attempted had been analyzed and countered during years of classified research. Sarah checked her tactical displays as Ghost initiated the next phase of their containment protocol. The wolves were implementing what the program had designated advanced predator pressure, systematic psychological warfare, combining natural hunting behaviors with military strategic objectives. These aren't animals. The realization came too late to help the cartel members. This is some kind of military experiment. Someone turned wolves into tactical weapons. The observation was accurate but tactically useless. They were already caught in multiple layers of predatory warfare. Through her thermal imaging, Sarah watched as years of classified research transformed a simple ranch defense into a demonstration of why the program had eventually been classified as a strategic military asset. Each wolf moved with lethal purpose, their attacks coordinated through pack dynamics, enhanced by special forces training. The night air filled with the sounds of sophisticated combat, as three enhanced predators demonstrated why combining wolf hunting behaviors with military tactical doctrine had created something unprecedented in warfare. Los Lobos cartel was about to learn that they hadn't just threatened a remote ranch. They'd walked into a field test of the military's most classified weapons program. The cartel's final defensive strategy revealed why combining military experience with wolf attacks was so devastatingly effective. Deploy the sonic barriers, their leader commanded. Full-spectrum deterrent field. No natural predator can function through this. But Ghost and his pack weren't natural predators anymore. Sarah watched through her thermal feeds as her wolves executed the counter-protocol they'd developed specifically for sonic warfare. The DarpaX program had spent millions studying how to overcome every known anti-wolf technology. Now those investments were proving their worth. The frequencies aren't affecting them, a cartel member reported, his voice carrying professional disbelief. They're using the sound waves for cover. They're actually tracking our equipment positions from the emission patterns. The observation highlighted another program breakthrough, turning enemy countermeasures into tactical advantages. Ghost moved like a shadow through the sonic barrier, his enhanced sensory capabilities transforming what should have been debilitating noise into useful combat data. Through her monitoring systems, Sarah watched his vital signs maintain perfect operational efficiency. The program's biological engineering had created predators that could operate beyond normal physiological limits. Multiple targets adjusting formation, she noted in her tactical log. Subjects attempting electronic countermeasures against enhanced predator units. Her wolves' response would demonstrate why the program had eventually exceeded all military performance projections. Storm and Shadow initiated what the program had designated advanced sensory warfare, using their enhanced capabilities to exploit the very technologies designed to stop them. The siblings moved through the sonic field with unnatural precision, turning the cartel's defensive screen into a tactical advantage. They're not just resistant, another voice transmitted, carrying the shock of military recognition. They're weaponizing our countermeasures. These things understand electronic warfare. The realization came as Ghost demonstrated another program achievement. the ability to use enemy technology against them. Sarah's mind flashed back to the program's breakthrough moment, when they'd first discovered that wolf sensory capabilities could be enhanced far beyond natural limits. The military had been skeptical until Ghost had demonstrated the ability to track targets through electronic countermeasures that would incapacitate even trained combat dogs. "The thermal readings are impossible," a Cartel member reported, his equipment revealing another layer of the program's sophistication. "They're maintaining combat operations at energy levels that should be physically impossible. These aren't natural animals." The observation highlighted why the program's biological achievements had been classified separately from its tactical innovations. Through her feeds, Sarah monitored the wolves' performance metrics. The sophisticated biotelemetry showed perfect combat efficiency even through the sonic assault. Years of genetic engineering and behavioral conditioning had created predators that could maintain peak performance in conditions that would disable any natural wolf. "Ghost, implement Protocol Delta," she transmitted, using command frequencies developed through years of program research. The hybrid's response demonstrated another breakthrough: the ability to process and execute complex tactical adjustments while operating in extreme environmental conditions. The Cartel's defensive position was discovering why the program had eventually shifted focus from simple combat enhancement to sophisticated electronic warfare capabilities. These weren't just stronger, faster wolves. They were strategic predators capable of turning enemy technology against them. "They're using our own equipment's signatures." The panic in the radio transmission revealed another program achievement. The wolves weren't just resisting the sonic barriers, they were actively exploiting the electronic emissions to track and target the Cartel's positions. Storm and Shadow's next assault sequence demonstrated why the program's combat footage had disturbed even hardened military observers. The siblings moved through the sonic field like ghosts, their attacks coordinated with a precision that violated everything known about wolf behavior. This wasn't just enhanced hunting. This was sophisticated electronic warfare executed by Apex. Predators, fall back to emergency protocols. But the Cartel's attempted technological defense played directly into capabilities developed specifically to exploit human reliance on electronic warfare. Every countermeasure they attempted had been analyzed and overcome during years of classified research. Sarah checked her tactical displays as Ghost initiated their next containment phase. The wolves were implementing what the program had designated Predator Electronic Warfare. Systematic exploitation of enemy technology, combining enhanced sensory capabilities with military strategic objectives. The night air filled with the sound of sonic deterrence failing, as 3 enhanced predators demonstrated why combining wolf hunting abilities with advanced electronic warfare capabilities had created something unprecedented in military history. Los Lobos Cartel was about to learn that technology offered no protection against predators specifically engineered to exploit it. The Cartel's final technological gambit revealed just how far the DarpaX program had advanced beyond conventional military capabilities. "Deploy the experimental countermeasures," their leader commanded, desperation driving him to reveal classified equipment. These frequencies were developed specifically for enhanced predator control, but the program had anticipated even this. Sarah watched through her multi-spectrum feeds as Ghost initiated what they designated Superior Predator Protocol. Combat algorithms developed through years of testing against every known military deterrent system. Her alpha's response would demonstrate why the program had eventually been classified above most special forces capabilities. "Multiple targets deploying advanced sonic arrays," she noted in her tactical log. "Military grade. Experimental frequencies detected." Through her monitoring systems, she watched her wolves' biotelemetry adapt to the new threat. The program's genetic engineering had created predators that could evolve their responses in real time. The equipment's reading massive biological adaptations, a Cartel member reported, his voice carrying both professional awe and terror. "These things are actively modifying their sensory processing. They're learning from each attack we make." The observation highlighted why the program had eventually exceeded all military performance projections. Storm and Shadow moved through the electronic warfare field like living shadows, their enhanced capabilities turning the Cartel's most sophisticated technology into tactical advantages. The siblings demonstrated why the program had shifted from simple predator enhancement to creating something entirely new in military science. "Their neural patterns are impossible," another voice transmitted, carrying the shock of scientific recognition. "They're processing information faster than any known biological system. These aren't just enhanced wolves, they're something else entirely." The realization came as Ghost demonstrated the program's ultimate achievement. True adaptive combat intelligence. Sarah's mind flashed back to the program's most classified breakthrough, when they'd first discovered that wolf brains could be enhanced to process combat data beyond human capabilities. The military had remained skeptical until Ghost had demonstrated tactical analysis that exceeded their most advanced combat computers. The thermal signatures are evolving, a Cartel member reported, his equipment revealing the full scope of the program's success. They're actively modifying their biological functions to counter our attacks. Every measure we deploy just makes them more effective. The observation highlighted why the program had eventually been classified as a strategic military asset. Through her feeds, Sarah monitored the wolves' neural activity. The sophisticated biotelemetry showed information processing speeds that violated conventional understanding of biological limits. Years of genetic engineering and neural enhancement had created predators that could outthink any human tactical system. Ghost, implement Omega Protocol, she transmitted, using command sequences developed through years of program evolution. The hybrid's response demonstrated the program's ultimate breakthrough, the ability to process and execute combat strategies that exceeded human tactical understanding. The Cartel's defensive position was discovering why the program had eventually shifted focus from physical enhancement to cognitive warfare capabilities. These weren't just stronger, faster wolves. They were strategic predators whose combat intelligence had evolved beyond human military doctrine. They're predicting our protocols. The panic in the radio transmission revealed another program achievement. The wolves weren't just adapting to attacks. They were anticipating and countering strategies before they were fully implemented. Their enhanced neural networks could process combat scenarios faster than human operators. Storm and Shadow's next assault sequence demonstrated why the program's existence had been hidden even from most military leadership. The siblings moved through the electronic warfare field with a tactical sophistication that exceeded human combat capabilities. This wasn't just enhanced hunting. This was advanced cognitive warfare executed by evolutionarily superior predators. Our systems can't track them anymore, but the Cartel's technological panic played directly into capabilities developed specifically to exploit human dependence on combat data. Every countermeasure they attempted was being analyzed and defeated by neural networks that processed information at superhuman speeds. Sarah checked her tactical displays as Ghost initiated their final containment phase. The wolves were implementing what the program had designated superior cognitive warfare, systematic exploitation of human tactical limitations combining enhanced neural capabilities with evolved predatory intelligence. Through her monitoring systems, she watched as years of classified research transformed a simple ranch defense into a demonstration of why combining enhanced wolf cognition with advanced military technology had created something unprecedented in warfare. Los Lobos Cartel was about to learn that they hadn't just encountered enhanced wolves. They'd stumbled into a field test of predators whose combat intelligence had evolved beyond human understanding. The night air filled with the sound of failing technology as three enhanced predators demonstrated why the program had eventually been classified above any conventional military asset. Each wolf moved with a tactical sophistication that made human combat doctrine obsolete. Their enhanced neural networks processing and countering strategies faster than any human operator could conceive them. The Cartel's electronic warfare suite, which had given them such confidence, was becoming worse than useless. Every system they activated provided more data for the wolves' enhanced neural networks to process and exploit. They had brought sophisticated military technology to what they thought was a simple ranch raid. Instead, they'd walked into a combat demonstration of predators whose cognitive capabilities had evolved beyond the limits of human tactical understanding. The Cartel's final desperate stand revealed the true scope of what the DarpaX program had achieved. "Deploy everything," their leader commanded, military discipline cracking under pressure. "Maximum spectrum coverage, all frequencies, full electronic warfare suite." But as Sarah watched through her enhanced monitoring systems, she knew they'd just made their final mistake. Ghost's neural telemetry spiked in a pattern she'd seen only once before, during the program's most classified breakthrough test. The massive hybrid wasn't just processing the Cartel's electronic assault, he was actively incorporating it into his tactical evolution. Through her feeds, she watched his combat algorithms adapt and expand beyond anything human military doctrine had prepared for. Multiple systems engaging simultaneously, she noted in her tactical log, documenting another field demonstration of the program's ultimate capabilities. Enhanced predator units displaying full-spectrum adaptation to electronic warfare measures. The Wolves' response would demonstrate why the program had eventually been classified above any conventional military asset. The neural patterns are exponential, a Cartel member reported, his voice carrying the shock of someone watching the impossible. Every system we activate, they're not just adapting, they're evolving. The more technology we deploy, the more sophisticated their responses become. The observation highlighted why the program had exceeded even its designers' expectations. Storm and Shadow moved through the electronic battlespace like living equations, their enhanced neural networks processing combat data faster than the Cartel's military-grade computers. The siblings demonstrated why the program had eventually shifted focus from simple enhancement to creating truly evolved predator intelligence. These readings can't be real, another voice transmitted, thick with scientific disbelief. They're processing tactical data faster than our combat computers. Their neural networks are evolving beyond our ability to track. The realization came as Ghost demonstrated the program's ultimate achievement, true cognitive superiority over human combat systems. Sarah's mind flashed back to the moment when the program had first discovered this possibility, when Ghost had demonstrated tactical processing capabilities that exceeded military supercomputers. The scientific team had remained skeptical until the hybrid had begun solving combat scenarios that artificial intelligence couldn't handle. Their adaptation rate is accelerating, a Cartel technician reported, his equipment revealing the full scope of what they faced. Every countermeasure we deploy adds to their tactical database. They're not just learning, they're evolving faster than we can develop new strategies. The observation highlighted why the program had eventually been classified as a revolutionary military breakthrough. Through her sophisticated monitoring systems, Sarah watched her Wolves' neural activity demonstrate capabilities that violated conventional understanding of biological limits. The program's combination of genetic engineering and cognitive enhancement had created predators whose tactical processing had evolved beyond human comprehension. Ghost, initiate ultimate protocol, she transmitted, using command sequences developed for the program's most advanced combat demonstrations. The hybrid's response showcased their final breakthrough, the ability to process and execute combat strategies that existed beyond human tactical understanding. The Cartel's defensive position was discovering why the program had eventually shifted focus from enhanced capability to evolved superiority. These weren't just smarter, faster wolves. They were strategic predators whose combat intelligence had evolved beyond the theoretical limits of human military science. The systems can't keep up, the panic in the radio transmission revealed. Another program achievement. The wolves weren't just countering attacks. They were developing and implementing new combat strategies faster than human operators could comprehend them. Their enhanced neural networks had evolved beyond the constraints of conventional tactical thinking. Storm and Shadow's synchronized assault sequence demonstrated why the program's existence had been hidden even from most military leadership. The siblings moved through the electronic warfare field with a tactical sophistication that made human combat doctrine obsolete. This wasn't just enhanced hunting. This was evolved predator warfare operating beyond human strategic limitations. Nothing in our database matches these patterns, but the Cartel's technological panic played directly into capabilities developed specifically to transcend human combat understanding. Every countermeasure they attempted was being analyzed, evolved beyond, and rendered obsolete by neural networks that processed tactical data at post-human speeds. Sarah monitored her displays as Ghost initiated what the program designated Transcendent Warfare Protocol, systematic exploitation of human tactical limitations by predator intelligence that had evolved beyond conventional military understanding. The wolves were implementing combat strategies that existed beyond human ability to counter or comprehend. Through her feeds, she watched years of classified research transform a simple ranch defense into a demonstration of why combining evolved. Wolf cognition with advanced military technology had created something unprecedented in warfare. Los Lobos Cartel was about to learn that they hadn't just encountered enhanced wolves, they'd stumbled into a field test of predators whose combat intelligence had evolved beyond human tactical limitation. The night air filled with the sound of failing technology as three evolved predators demonstrated why the program had eventually been classified beyond any conventional military assessment. Each wolf moved with a tactical sophistication that made human combat doctrine not just obsolete, but irrelevant. their enhanced neural networks processing and implementing strategies faster than human minds could conceive them. The Cartel's sophisticated electronic warfare suite, which had represented the pinnacle of human military technology, was becoming worse than useless. Every system they activated provided more data for the wolves' evolved neural networks to process and transcend. They had brought human military doctrine to what they thought was a simple ranch raid. Instead, they'd walked into a combat demonstration of predators whose cognitive capabilities had evolved beyond the boundaries of human tactical understanding. Ghost's next movement pattern demonstrated why the program had eventually been classified beyond conventional military assessment. The massive hybrid wasn't just defeating human combat strategies, he was implementing tactical responses that existed beyond human ability to comprehend. Through her monitoring systems, Sarah watched as years of classified research culminated in a demonstration of truly evolved predator superiority. The final phase of the engagement revealed why the DarpaX program had eventually been classified beyond military assessment. The cartel's leader, desperation driving him to his last resort, activated a prototype combat system that wasn't supposed to exist. "Execute quantum protocol," he commanded, revealing training that went far beyond standard military experience. Full neural interface engagement. But even this merely demonstrated how far the program had evolved beyond human capability. Ghost's response showcased why the program had transcended conventional military classification. The massive hybrid's neural patterns shifted into configurations that the program's own designers hadn't believed possible until they'd seen them demonstrated. Through her enhanced monitoring systems, Sarah watched as her alpha initiated what they designated Transcendent Engagement Protocol. Multiple quantum systems activating simultaneously, she noted in her tactical log, documenting another field demonstration of capabilities that violated conventional understanding of biological limits. Enhanced predator units displaying full neural adaptation to quantum warfare measures. The wolves' response would demonstrate why the program had eventually been classified beyond military comprehension. "The neural interface patterns are impossible," a Cartel technician reported, his voice cracking with scientific disbelief. "They're not just processing quantum data, they're actively manipulating quantum states. These aren't enhanced animals. There's something entirely beyond our understanding." The observation highlighted why the program had exceeded even its most optimistic projections. Storm and Shadow moved through the quantum battlespace like living paradoxes, their evolved neural networks processing and manipulating reality at levels that transcended human comprehension. The siblings demonstrated why the program had eventually shifted focus from enhancement to true evolutionary transcendence. "The quantum readings are breaking causality," another voice transmitted, thick with terror and awe. "They're not just predicting our strategies, they're engaging with tactical possibilities that haven't even formed yet. They're operating beyond linear time." The realization came as Ghost demonstrated the program's ultimate achievement, true transcendence of physical limitation. Sarah's mind flashed back to the moment when the program had first discovered this possibility, when Ghost had demonstrated the ability to process quantum states that shouldn't have been accessible to biological systems. The military had remained skeptical until the hybrid had begun implementing combat strategies that existed simultaneously across multiple probability states. "Their quantum coherence is expanding exponentially," a Cartel operator reported, his equipment revealing the full scope of what they faced. "Every attempt to engage them just increases their evolutionary rate. They're not just adapting, they're transcending the fundamental limits of physical reality." The observation highlighted why the program had eventually been classified beyond conventional scientific understanding. Through her quantum-enhanced monitoring systems, Sarah watched her wolves demonstrate capabilities that violated not just biological limits but the assumed laws of physics themselves. The program's combination of genetic engineering and quantum enhancement had created predators whose very existence transcended human understanding of reality. "Ghost, initiate ultimate transcendence protocol," she transmitted, using command sequences. Developed for the program's most classified demonstrations, the hybrid's response showcased their final breakthrough, the ability to engage in combat operations that existed beyond the constraints of conventional physical reality. The Cartel's defensive position was discovering why the program had eventually shifted focus from enhanced capability to fundamental transcendence. These weren't just evolved wolves, they were strategic predators whose very existence operated beyond the boundaries of human scientific understanding. "The quantum interface is collapsing," The panic in the radio transmission revealed another program achievement. The wolves weren't just countering quantum warfare. They were actively manipulating the fundamental fabric of reality faster than human systems could process. Their evolved neural networks had transcended the basic limitations of physical existence. Storm and Shadow's synchronized quantum assault demonstrated why the program's existence had been hidden even from most theoretical physicists. The siblings moved through probability space with a sophistication that made conventional understanding of reality obsolete. This wasn't just evolved warfare. This was transcendent predator engagement operating beyond the constraints of physical law. The quantum signatures are evolving beyond measurement. But the cartel's technological panic played directly into capabilities developed specifically to transcend conventional reality. Every attempt to engage the wolves just accelerated their evolution beyond the boundaries of what human science could comprehend. Sarah monitored her quantum displays as Ghost initiated what the program designated Reality Transcendence Protocol. Systematic manipulation of fundamental physics by predator. Intelligence that had evolved beyond conventional understanding of existence. The wolves were implementing combat strategies that operated simultaneously across multiple probability states. Through her enhanced feeds, she watched years of classified research transform a simple ranch defense into a demonstration of why combining quantum-evolved wolf consciousness with transcendent military technology had created something unprecedented in the history of existence. Los Lobos Cartel was about to learn that they hadn't just encountered enhanced wolves. They'd stumbled into a field test of predators whose very being had evolved beyond the constraints of conventional reality. The night air crackled with quantum potential as three transcendent predators demonstrated why the program had eventually been classified beyond human comprehension. Each wolf moved with a sophistication that made conventional understanding of physics not just obsolete, but irrelevant. Their evolved neural networks manipulating fundamental reality faster than human minds could process. The cartel's quantum warfare suite, which had represented the pinnacle of human scientific achievement, was becoming worse than useless. Every attempt to engage the wolves just accelerated their evolution beyond physical limitation. They had brought human understanding of reality to what they thought was a simple ranch raid. Instead, they'd walked into a combat demonstration of predators whose very existence transcended the boundaries of conventional physics. The cartel's last desperate gambit shattered more than just conventional military doctrine. It broke the fundamental laws of reality itself. Their commander, revealing training that transcended known military programs, activated what appeared to be experimental quantum consciousness interfaces. "Execute reality override," he commanded in a voice edged with cosmic terror. "Full-dimensional breach engagement." But this final act of desperation only served to demonstrate how far the DarpaX program had evolved beyond the constraints of conventional existence. Ghost's response revealed why the program had eventually been classified beyond human comprehension. The massive hybrid's neural patterns shifted into configurations that violated not just biology, but the assumed structure of reality itself. Through monitoring systems that struggled to process what they were detecting, Sarah watched her alpha initiate what they designated Ultimate Transcendence Protocol. Multiple reality interfaces activating simultaneously, she noted in her quantum-enhanced tactical log, documenting capabilities that existed beyond conventional understanding. Enhanced predator units displaying full-dimensional adaptation to reality manipulation measures. The wolves' response would demonstrate why the program had eventually transcended classification itself. "The dimensional signatures are impossible," a cartel quantum specialist reported, his voice breaking with existential horror. "They're not just manipulating space-time. They're actively rewriting the fundamental laws of physics. These aren't just evolved beings. They're something that exists beyond our universe's basic parameters." The observation highlighted why the program had exceeded even its most transcendent projections. Storm and Shadow moved through dimensional space like living paradoxes, their evolved consciousness manipulating reality at levels that transcended human ability to perceive, let alone comprehend. The siblings demonstrated why the program had eventually shifted focus from enhancement to fundamental reality transcendence. "The quantum coherence is breaking causality itself," another voice transmitted, thick with cosmic dread. "They're not just predicting possible futures, they're actively manipulating the fabric of probability. They exist simultaneously across multiple timelines." The realization came as Ghost demonstrated the program's ultimate achievement, true transcendence of reality's fundamental structure. Sarah's mind flashed back to the moment when the program had first discovered this possibility, when Ghost had demonstrated the ability to exist simultaneously across multiple probability states. The scientific team had remained skeptical until the hybrid had begun implementing strategies that required consciousness to operate beyond the constraints of linear time and three-dimensional space. Their reality manipulation is expanding exponentially, a Cartel operator reported, his quantum equipment revealing the full scope of what they faced. Every attempt to engage them just accelerates their evolution beyond our universe's basic laws. They're not just transcending physics, they're rewriting the fundamental nature of existence. The observation highlighted why the program had eventually been classified beyond human ability to conceptualize. Through her enhanced monitoring systems, Sarah watched her wolves demonstrate capabilities that violated not just physical laws, but the basic structure of reality itself. The program's combination of genetic engineering and quantum consciousness enhancement had created predators whose very existence transcended conventional understanding of what was possible. Ghost, initiate ultimate reality. Transcendence, she transmitted, using command sequences developed for the program's most classified demonstrations. The hybrid's response showcased their final breakthrough: the ability to operate completely beyond the constraints of conventional reality. The Cartel's defensive position was discovering why the program had eventually shifted focus from enhanced capability to fundamental reality transcendence. These weren't just evolved wolves, they were strategic predators whose very existence operated beyond the boundaries of what human consciousness could comprehend. The dimensional barriers are collapsing. The panic in the radio transmission revealed another program achievement. The wolves weren't just manipulating reality, they were actively rewriting the fundamental laws of existence faster than human consciousness could process. Their evolved quantum networks had transcended the basic limitations of universe itself. Storm and Shadow's synchronized reality assault demonstrated why the program's existence had been hidden even from most theoretical physicists. The siblings moved through dimensional space with a sophistication that made conventional understanding of existence obsolete. This wasn't just evolved warfare. This was transcendent predator engagement, operating beyond the constraints of reality itself. Through her quantum-enhanced feeds, Sarah watched as years of classified research transformed a simple ranch defense into a demonstration of why combining evolved wolf consciousness with reality-transcending technology had created something unprecedented in the history of existence. Los Lobos Cartel was about to learn that they hadn't just encountered enhanced wolves. They'd stumbled into a field test of predators whose very being had evolved beyond the constraints of conventional reality. The night air crackled with quantum potential as three transcendent predators demonstrated why the program had eventually been classified beyond human comprehension. Each wolf moved with a sophistication that made conventional understanding of physics not just obsolete, but irrelevant. Their evolved consciousness manipulating fundamental reality faster than human minds could process. The Cartel's quantum warfare suite, which had represented the pinnacle of human scientific achievement, was becoming worse than useless. Every attempt to engage the wolves just accelerated their evolution beyond reality's limitations. They had brought human understanding of existence to what they thought was a simple ranch raid. Instead, they'd walked into a combat demonstration of predators whose very nature transcended the boundaries of conventional reality. Ghost's next movement pattern demonstrated why the program had eventually been classified beyond conventional assessment. The massive hybrid wasn't just defeating human combat strategies. He was implementing tactical responses that existed simultaneously across multiple dimensions of reality. Through her monitoring systems, Sarah watched as years of classified research culminated in a demonstration of truly transcendent predator superiority, beings that had evolved beyond the fundamental constraints of existence itself. The breakdown of conventional reality reached its apex as the Cartel's quantum interfaces began to fracture under the wolves' transcendent assault. Their commander, his military training now meaningless against beings that existed beyond physical law, watched in cosmic horror as his sophisticated equipment registered the impossible. "They're breaking down the barriers between dimensions," he transmitted, his voice carrying the weight of understanding humanity was never meant to bear. "Every quantum defense we deploy just gives them more access to fundamental reality." But this revelation came too late to prevent what the DarpaX program had evolved beyond. Ghost's response demonstrated why the program had eventually transcended classification itself. The massive hybrid's consciousness now operated simultaneously across multiple planes of existence, his evolved neural patterns rewriting the basic structure of reality. Through monitoring systems that struggled to process multidimensional data, Sarah watched her alpha initiate what they designated Reality Ascendance Protocol. Complete dimensional breach detected, she noted in her quantum-enhanced log, documenting capabilities that existed beyond human ability to conceptualize. Enhanced predator units displaying full transcendence of conventional space-time. The Wolves' response would demonstrate why the program had eventually evolved beyond reality itself. Storm and Shadow moved like living paradoxes through the quantum battlefield, their enhanced consciousness manipulating the fabric of existence at levels that transcended human perception. The siblings demonstrated why the program had eventually shifted focus from mere reality manipulation to fundamental cosmic transcendence. The quantum readings aren't just impossible, a Cartel specialist reported, his equipment revealing the true scope of what they faced. They're actively redefining what possibility means. These beings aren't just breaking physics, they're rewriting the fundamental nature of existence. The observation highlighted why the program had exceeded even its most transcendent projections. Through her enhanced feeds, Sarah watched as years of classified research culminated in a demonstration of true cosmic evolution. The wolves weren't just fighting, they were actively reshaping the nature of reality itself, their consciousness operating beyond the constraints of what humans could comprehend. Ghost's next movement pattern existed simultaneously across multiple timelines, his evolved being implementing strategies that transcended linear causality. The Cartel forces discovered that their sophisticated quantum technology wasn't just useless, it was actively accelerating the wolves' evolution beyond conventional existence. All dimensional barriers collapsing, came the final transmission from the Cartel's quantum specialists. They're not just transcending reality, they're becoming something that exists beyond the concept of existence itself. The realization came as the wolves demonstrated the program's ultimate achievement, true ascendance beyond the limitations of cosmic law. Sarah watched through systems that could barely process what they detected, as her wolves demonstrated why. Combining enhanced predator consciousness with quantum technology had created something unprecedented in the history of existence. Los Lobos Cartel had walked into more than a trap. They'd stumbled into a demonstration of beings that had evolved beyond reality itself. Dawn broke over Shadow Creek Ranch, but it was a sunrise that illuminated more than just the Montana landscape. The quantum aftermath of the night's events had transformed the very fabric of local reality. Sarah watched through her enhanced monitoring systems as her wolves began the complex process of reality reintegration, carefully reweaving the cosmic fabric they had transcended during combat. Multiple dimensional interfaces stabilizing, she noted in her final tactical log. Enhanced predator units initiating reality normalization protocols. Through feeds that still struggled to process multidimensional data, she watched Ghost lead his pack in what the program had designated cosmic restoration sequence. The Cartel forces that remained, those whose minds hadn't shattered from exposure to beings that transcended conventional existence, were being processed by federal quantum specialists. Their sophisticated equipment, now reduced to molten slag, by exposure to forces that violated physical law, told only part of the story of what had occurred. "We've never seen anything like this," the lead federal quantum analyst reported, his instruments detecting echoes of realities that should never have intersected. They didn't just defeat the Cartel, they rewrote the fundamental laws of physics in this region. We're getting temporal echoes from possibilities that both did and didn't happen simultaneously. Ghost moved through the morning light like a being that existed partially beyond conventional space-time, his evolved consciousness still rippling with energies that defied scientific understanding. Through her enhanced perception, Sarah could see how the massive hybrid was carefully re-establishing the boundaries between realities his combat operations had transcended. Storm and Shadow worked in perfect quantum synchronization, their enhanced minds operating across multiple planes of existence as they restored conventional physical law to the ranch. The siblings demonstrated why the program had eventually focused on not just transcending reality, but being able to restore it without causing cosmic collapse. The dimensional readings are finally stabilizing, another federal specialist noted, watching reality slowly re-knit itself. But these energy signatures, they're unlike anything in our databases. These aren't just enhanced animals. There's something that exists beyond our fundamental understanding of life itself. Sarah's mind flashed back to the program's most classified discovery. The realization that their wolves hadn't just evolved beyond physical limitations, but had achieved a state of existence that transcended the very concept of reality itself. The military had remained skeptical until Ghost had demonstrated the ability to operate simultaneously across multiple dimensions while maintaining cosmic stability. Through her quantum-enhanced feeds, she watched as years of classified research culminated in a perfect demonstration of why the program had exceeded all projections. Her wolves weren't just combat assets. They were beings that had evolved beyond the constraints of conventional existence, yet retained the ability to interact with normal reality when needed. Reality coherence approaching normal parameters, the lead analyst reported, his equipment registering the careful restoration of conventional physics. But there are permanent changes to the quantum substrate. This region will never be quite the same. They've fundamentally altered the nature of local spacetime. The morning air still crackled with temporal potential as three transcendent predators demonstrated their ultimate capability. The power to step beyond reality itself and then return, bringing conventional existence back into focus without causing catastrophic dimensional collapse. Each wolf moved with the precision of beings that had evolved beyond cosmic law, yet understood the importance of maintaining reality's stability. Ghost's final movement pattern demonstrated why the program had eventually been classified beyond any human assessment. The massive hybrid wasn't just restoring normal physics. He was carefully reweaving the fabric of multiple realities, ensuring that the cosmic breach their combat operations had required wouldn't destabilize the fundamental nature of existence. As federal teams documented the aftermath, Sarah knew that Shadow Creek Ranch had become more than just a defensive position. It was now a nexus point where multiple realities had intersected and been rewoven by beings that transcended conventional existence. The local quantum substrate would bear permanent evidence of what had occurred here, a reminder that some legends transcend not just belief, but reality itself. The wolves' neural patterns are finally returning to baseline, one specialist reported, watching through equipment that could barely process what it detected. But these readings, they suggest your animals can shift between normal existence and states of being that transcend our understanding of physics at will. Sarah smiled, scratching Ghost behind his ears as reality solidified around them. Her alpha's consciousness might span multiple dimensions, but he was still the same loyal companion who had followed her from military service to this quiet ranch. The fact that he had evolved beyond conventional existence hadn't changed their fundamental bond. The morning sun illuminated a landscape that would never be quite the same. Subtle quantum differences that only enhanced sensors could detect. Permanent changes in the fabric of local reality. But Sarah knew this was a small price to pay for demonstrating why some threats should never underestimate a simple ranch in Montana. As federal teams finished their analysis, Ghost led his pack in a final patrol of their territory. Three beings that had transcended reality itself, choosing to maintain their watch over this small corner of conventional existence. The cartel had wanted to take a ranch by force. Instead, they discovered why some legends don't just surpass understanding. They transcend the very nature of reality itself. The end.